Part 2. Okay, two different write the equations of the line situations. Write the equation of a line passing through 3, -1, that's a point, and is parallel to 5x minus 2y equals 4. So, if you want to just kind of get a quick understanding of this, you might want to just graph the line itself, which means I probably need to put this in slope-intercept form. All right, and I'm going to get the grid back up. While it's warming up, I'll solve this thing. So you got 5x minus 2y is equal to 4. Okay? I'm going to subtract the 5x. And divide by -2 on both sides. The reason why I'm going to do that is because if y is by itself, as it is right here, positive 5/2 x minus 2, all right? Now what I can do is I can talk about the slope and its starting point, the point where it crosses the y-axis. So it looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Or down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, left 2. By the way, if you've ever wondered why a negative divided by a negative yields a positive value, this is the perfect illustration of how a positive value yields the same pattern as a negative value. Whoa. Okay. So we need to write the equation of a line that's parallel. Hold on. Come on now. To this one. And we know it's got to pass through the point 3, -1. So what you should be thinking is, they have the same slope. Okay? So this one's going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right 2. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, left 2. And do that exact same thing. And here's a rough drawing of it. And just by eyeballing it, it's like maybe it crosses at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, -8. I'm not going to rely on my wobbly drawing, though. What I'm going to do is say, I can write the equation of this line with, I know the slope is 5/2 because it's parallel to that line, which means they have the same slopes. So this is for sure 5/2. We also know that it goes through x3 and y, -1. We don't need the graph to figure out what our b value is. So I know this is 2.5 times 3, 2.5, 5, 7.5. Okay? It was almost -8. It was -7.5 from both sides. -8.5 was b. So the answer to 29 is, I've got my slope is 5/2, my b is -8.5, y equals 5/2x minus 8.5, or 8.5. And I'm just going to leave it like that. You guys can, I don't know if it says put it in the general form. Oh, we're still in that space where it's asking for the general form. So I guess technically, what we can do is say 8.5 is the same as 17/2. We can multiply both sides by 2. That'll get rid of the 2's here and here. So it'd be 2y equals 5x minus 17. And then I could swap the 2y and the minus 17. Because I'd be subtracting 2y from both sides. And then I would be adding 17 to both sides. So 5x minus 2y is equal to 17. That's probably what's going to be in the answer key, right? If it's supposed to be in the general form. Now, what happens when we start talking about perpendicular instead of parallel? Excuse me. Well, you should know another part to the whole slope debacle. Write the equation of the line passing through 7, -3, and is perpendicular to 2x minus 5y equals 8. I don't know if we need to necessarily graph anything, only to give ourselves a little bit of perspective and maybe to check our answers. What I do know is that the equation of any line is supposed to be y equals mx plus b. I can use 7 for the x, -3 for the y, use this equation to determine what our m is, and then go from there. So I'm going to get y by itself here so that we can get a more accurate view of the m value. -5y equals -2x plus 8. Divide everybody by -5. And you get y is equal to positive 2/5 x minus 8/5, or 1 3/5. This is not our final answer. All it does is it tells us that if m is my slope of the line that I just isolated y, then the slope of the line perpendicular to it, I'm going to put m with a little upside down t, that's the little abbreviation, the notation for perpendicular, must be the negative reciprocal of the other slope. So negative reciprocal just means flip it and change the sign. So it used to be positive 2/5, now it's going to be -5/2. Was positive 2/5, now -5/2. Okay, we got all the pieces of info we need. Let's solve for b. Y is -3, m is -5/2, times x is 7. You get -3 is equal to -35/2 plus b. So I can rewrite -3 in terms of a 2 denominator because I can see that's going to be a thing. So it's going to be -6/2 on the left. On the right-hand side, looks like we're going to be adding 35/2 to both sides. And then I'll add it over here. So that gives me a value b equals 29/2, which is 14.5. But again, if you're putting it in the general form, you want to keep it as 29/2 so that when we get it in that general form, it's not going to be a mixed number thing that we have to deal with. So, let's see here. How about we go to this side of the board? Yeah. So we had y equals mx plus b. What was the m? -5/2. The b, 29/2. Double both sides, you get 2y equals -5x plus 29. Those 2's cancel with that 2. And then in this case, I just add the 5x to both sides. So 5x plus 2y is equal to 29. By the way, they generally, when you put it in general form, they want the x to be positive. So it's just one of those kind of weird things that you see in textbooks. All right, let's talk about 33 now. We're still talking about writing equations of lines. They're just giving us completely different information. On 33, they give us the x-intercept and the y-intercept, which is basically the place where it crosses the x-axis and the place where it crosses the y-axis. They say we have an x-intercept of 4, which means it crosses the x-axis here, and a y-intercept of -3 crosses here. Now, you could maybe sketch a graph and write the equation this way. In fact, that looks super easy. Y equals mx plus b. They're asking for slope-intercept form, for this one. So they want that. They don't want the general form on 33. Our m is up 1, 2, 3, right 1, 2, 3, 4, so 3/4. And our b value is, it crosses the y-axis at -3. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to say, we're writing the equation of a line that passes through the points 4, 0, and 0, -3. And if they do that, then you can just run it through the normal procedure of, all right, step 1, find the slope, which, by the way, there's another way besides the formula to find the slope. It's just a matter of counting. Like, hey, how do you get from 0 to -3? I subtract 3. Okay, how do you get from 4 to 0? I subtract 4. Okay, -3 over -4, which is positive 3/4. I don't know. Sometimes some students just think it's a little bit quicker that way, besides plugging numbers into a formula. Anyway, on number 2, when you're supposed to find b, I would hope you guys would have the presence of mind to say, I know we've got the b because the b is right there. It's the y-intercept. So if they give us the y-intercept and we're solving for the y-intercept, we should just be able to say b equals -3 right off the bat. But if you can't, you can say, hey, I know that it has to go through this equation. Let's pick x is 0, y is then -3, our m is 3/4. It still should come to fruition that this is 0 plus b, and 0 plus anything is just that number. So, and then you'd rewrite it like this. I'm going to try to do one more, number 37. It's talking about perpendicular bisectors. Which is always a fun time. All right, 3, -1, -2, 6. So 3, -1 is A, 2, -6. 2, -2, 6, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what they kind of want you to do here is determine what line would cross through the middle of this at a 90-degree angle. Because back in the Math 2 days, or maybe even Math 3, there were these things called constructions where you guys would get out a compass and you would say, all right, let's make an arc. Let's make an arc right up here that intersects with an arc this way, okay? It'd be like a random point out here. That in such a way that when you dropped it down to here, it met right in the smack dab of this segment and created a right angle. So what do we need? We need the midpoint. That'll be a point on our line, on the perpendicular bisector. And then we would need to find the slope of AB, because if it's perpendicular, it's going to be a negative reciprocal of that. So let's do this first. Find the midpoint. The formula is add your x's together, so 3. Let me just make sure I wrote this down correctly. Yeah, because it's been rough this morning for some reason. 3 plus -2. You're cutting that in half. And then you're going to do the two y values, which is -6 plus +6 plus -1 over 2. So it's a half, 5 halves. Got it. Okay. The equation we're trying to write must go through these 2 points. So when we do y equals mx plus b, we're going to be plugging in 5 halves for y, 1 half for the x. Now what's the slope of this line? We got our midpoint. It's like right here somewhere. I think that's a pretty good guess where it's at. Now, the slope of m, the slope of AB is down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If m equals -7/5, then that means our perpendicular slope to that, I'll just denote it with that little notation, is +5/7. Okay, we got all the info we need. Let's plug in. Y is 5/2. M is 5/7. X is 1/2. Now find B. Yeah, and it looks like we're going to need to find a common denominator, so I'm just going to spearhead that right away. Times 7 times 7. It's going to be 35/14 on the left. And then we got to subtract 5/14 from both sides. And that's what our B value will be. So it's 30/14, which is 15/7. Final answer, m is equal to, not m, y. Y is equal to 5/7 for my m, x plus 15/7 for my b.